Hello, and today we'll continue with Temptation's Ballad. Market District. Sparrows roost in at night. Night blanketed axes the skyline as hours passed. Still let out an exasperated sigh. He had spent those hours searching through every street in Placifico, but Hyena was nowhere to be found. Morrow said he hadn't heard hide nor hair of his son since this morning. Hammond was nowhere to be found either. The whole situation left a nagging feeling in his gut. He really shouldn't have left him alone either earlier. Mom, I'm home. The inn was quiet tonight. Considering the day's commotion, Sid half expected his mom to barrel through the dining area like a rhinoceros and smother him with worry. Instead, Ilya quietly glanced up from cleaning tables with a strange, knowing look on her face. Oh, welcome home, sweetheart. I'm surprised to see you back so soon. Sid blinked. Huh? But I haven't been home since this morning. His mom smiled. Whatever do you mean? You came back and then left us a short while ago. But what? That can't be right. I was busy searching for Cole the whole afternoon. That must have been Cole. I mean, he's kind of... I think we need to start doing that, pretending to be other people. Because it just makes things awkward for the real person that he's imitating with his magic. Sid paused. Oh. Eli smiled softly as he continued to clean up the room for the inn. So, what did I do while I was here? Oh, not much really. You were rather upset, to put it mildly. Utterly distraught, and looked like you were sobbing for hours. If I were being honest. I figured you probably just wanted a distraction to keep your mind off of things. You helped me wash dishes and scrub the floors while I chatted away about my day. Never said much, just listened to me ramble about mundane nonsense. I hope the noise helped, at the very least. Sid smiled and offered his mom a quick hug. You always managed to help, one way or another. I'm sure he appreciated it. Do you have any idea where I ran off to? Elias laughed softly. After a while, you excused yourself and ran off to the hills area in the Marauders District. Marauders District, gotcha. Oh, and while you're there, Ilya placed a gentle hand on Sid's shoulder. Tell Cole that he is welcome to come by and chat any time. No need for that silly disguise. I'll be happy to talk his ear off as the little hyena self. Sparrow's Roost Inn is open to anyone who needs a warm place to stay and rest. Sid nodded earnestly. I'll be sure to let him know. Also tell him that his disguise needs some serious work. I mean, honestly, he was like 10 inches too short and got your eye color wrong. The boy's giving us bards a bad name. Well, I'm sure Cole wasn't really in the best state of mind while he was here. I mean, he shouldn't have even been wearing my face in the first place. And you better scold him for that. I'll let him off the hook this time, since he looked like a sad old bag, but you have to keep your boundaries. If I catch him pulling that shit again, it's on sight. Yeah, it feels kind of weird knowing he's walking around with my face. I know he isn't doing well, but still. Ilya let out an indignant sigh before nodding to her son. We're going then. Go to your friend. He looked like he needs someone to pull him out of his thoughts. Sid shuffled nervously. Do you have any advice? You're always great at helping people, but I still have no idea how you do it. Is this some sort of skill they teach in mom school? A bittersweet smile spread across Ila's face. It comes with age and a lifetime of mistakes, my son. She tapped her chin thoughtfully. I think your friend did something wrong. And I think he's the type of person who utterly loathes himself for wronging others. But he also believes he's utterly undeserving of forgiveness or understanding. So he just wallows away in his own thoughts, unsure if he deserves to be around people that he'll inevitably wrong again. Ila reached out and gripped his hand. You're a good friend. Go to him. Be firm, but kind. I think Cole is far past the point of hearing more supportive speeches, so don't blindly comfort him. Hold him responsible for his wrongs, but also hold on to the fact that you believe he can do better. Anyone who is willing to try can grow into a better person. She let out a little chuckle. I mean, just look at your old mom. I'm much more mature and sane than I was in my youth. You can't even find any of my wanted posters around the city anymore. Sid squinted. You're talking about that time you burned down my school, right? Oh no, there are so many others. How many are we talking about here? She raised a hand dismissively. Oh, hush and go. Your friend is waiting for you. Wait a sec. Sid manages to give his mother one last grateful smile before she ushered him out the door. The stars twinkled in the clear night sky above, the grass cold beneath him. He lost track of time as he lay there, waiting. He wasn't sure what exactly he was waiting for. There was probably something better he could be doing, like apologizing or fixing his messes. His brow furrowed, and as he stared into the night sky, the chill air stung his raw and sore eyes. He shouldn't be the one crying or feeling terrible for himself. He was the one who fucked up after all, yet here he is, lying here, with an entire evening wasted with no tears left to cry. Gosh, he was awful. His body, his mind, everything felt heavy and exhausting. He just felt tired. So tired. Cole remained unmoving as footsteps rustled behind him, and shadows slowly loomed overhead. Cole looked up to see Sid's face staring down at him with a mixture of worry and discomfort. The sight of your own face staring back at you was probably a bit uncanny. A quiet moment passed between the two of them before Sid finally spoke. So what's this then? Cole's disguise flickered and dissolved in the walls of teal light. He avoided Sid's eyes and continued staring blankly into the night sky. Sorry, I just needed to be someone else for a while. Sid paused for a moment, thinking, that's kind of fucked up, man. That managed to get a small chuckle out Cole. Sorry, you're forgiven. Mom says your disguise sucks, by the way. And she says that you're welcome back to the inn whenever you want, as yourself. Oh. Sorry. Your family's really nice and uncomplicated. I don't know. Mine can be a bit unhinged sometimes. Another small laugh escaped Cole's throat in spite of himself. I'm just surprised she didn't stab me if she realized who I was. Come on, Mom's not gonna let a sad kid under her roof without going all mother hen on them. She probably could have helped you better if you came as yourself. Cole felt quiet again. I'm not sure if I deserve it. Sid laid down on the grass next to him, arms folded patiently. The two of them stared up at the stars for several long, silent moments before he spoke again. Do you want to talk about it? I kind of did something horrible to Hammers, like worse than usual. Things were going so well and we were getting along for once. But then things got heated and I kind of snapped and cast detect thoughts on him, like what that counter guy did to me. Yeah. Cole squeezed his eyes shut and let out a deep breath. I've been an awful son. Papa and Hammers know it too. It was they just say it. Just dish all the good parenting talk and tell me that they're sick of me. It would make things easier instead of this whole charade. His fingers dug into the grassy dirt painfully. When I cast that detect thoughts, I guess that's what I wanted to see. For everyone to just drop the ad and tell me how they really feel. But the things I saw, I was just left with a thought. Cole opened his eyes and stared tightly into the starry night. How did I end up like this? Sid peered down at him curiously. Like what? Cole gestured vaguely at himself. This. In my head, I've always just blamed it on my upbringing. The big expectations, this pathetic body growing up with the greatest mercenary in the land, the magic. It had to have messed me up at least a little bit, shouldn't it? He paused. I think all of that was just an excuse. I had a wonderful upbringing. 2 loving dads and an entire guild of people to lean on. Friends. Clyde. I was the one who made all these bad choices. I decided to be a sit to Hammers because I never felt good enough to be Marvel's kid. I chose to keep messing things up because I couldn't talk to anyone as myself. He let out a bitter laugh. I'm a bit fucked up in the head, aren't I? And I can't blame it on anyone but myself. Cole let out a deep sigh. This is it. This is the person my choices made. Papa and Hammers deserve a better son. He turned towards Sid. You and Ornaby deserve a less silly friend. I can't fathom why you two haven't ditched me yet. Sid was quiet with a thoughtful look on his face. He sat up and gave Cole a firm look, carefully choosing his words. Yeah, I won't lie. You have been kind of silly, but you've been kind of great too. Cole glanced up, startled, as Sid continued. The way you were ready to ditch me at the fighting ring was terrible. You should treat Hammers better, and God knows you need to be more upfront with Clyde. But Sid reached over and grasped Cole's hand. The hyena stared at him in bewilderment. I've never been happier and more comfortable with myself than I have after meeting you. I saw a smile spread across the badger's face. You helped me with my weeding issues and you put your faith in me when scheming to help Clyde's future. And 3 days ago, my best and only friend was a toad. Now I've got you in order me. Sid's grip on his hand tightened as he pulled him close. You wanted my honesty? Well, here it is. I see you, Cole, all of you. Every lie and every piece of good. Now decided to say. Cole's heart lurched painfully against his chest. It took him several moments to realize his face was wet with tears again. It's true that you've made a lot of bad decisions, but that doesn't mean we all secretly hate you or want you to leave forever. And it doesn't mean you should give up on making things right. Come back to us, make better decisions. You're responsible for who you are, and I know that you can make the choices to build a better person. Sid squeezed Cole's hand gingerly. Just promise me something, yeah? Have a little more faith. Faith in yourself and everyone around you. You can do better. I've seen it. Cole fell quiet. I'm not sure my promises are worth much anymore. But I'll try. Thank you. But stay with me. Cole wiped the tears from his eyes as the two of them sat quietly on the grassy hill. Well, I guess if I'm going to do this whole honesty thing, I might as well start here. You, you promised to stay with me through all this, right? Sid's smile was gentle as he squeezed his shoulder. Of course, I'll be right by your side, boss. Cole took a deep breath before quietly rummaging through his pockets. Before he could say anything, Malice squirmed his way up his arm with an indignant hiss. Who dares interrupt my beauty sleep? You better have a good excuse, puny mortal. I see you recover enough to yap you're a trap. Wait a second. Did you grow bigger? How many cheese balls have you been stealing? Wow, rude. I have been feeding off your emotions non-stop for the past few days, pretty mortal. And I must say, you have kept me very well fed. Especially from that little conversation just now. That conversation was exactly full of negative emotions. But it was delicious nonetheless. At this rate, I'll be back to my true form before you know it. Anyway, why have you called me pure mortal? Make haste, for I must nap and digest. Cole rolled his eyes before holding the little python out for Sid to see. Hurry up and turn back into your ruby form. In front of your lackey, have you gone mad? Cole glared. Just do it, the little python hissed reluctantly before curling up into a ball. In a flash of red, the snake poofed back into a large scarlet ruby. Cole glanced at Sid nervously. Okay, so don't freak out, but is that one of Artemis' missing rubies? Well, yeah, about that. I kind of swiped this off that cloak maid's doing our tussle in the fighting ring. And surprise, all the rubies are actually little demons. The ruby in his hand suddenly puffed back into an indignant malice. I resent that, puny mortal. I've grown at least 2 inches. Anyway, you know that demon that turned me into a pincushion this afternoon? It was another one of the missing rubies. He scratched his head awkwardly. I've been telling myself that I'm doing Artemis a favor since they're all demons and she's definitely being duped into some shady scheme, but I was just being selfish at the time. But right now I'm 100% in on helping her out of this mess. I just have no idea how to break it to her. Artemis is absolutely going to kill me if she finds out. Well, that might be going a bit far. She'll probably just lightly fry you with lightning for a bit. Artie seems more like the deep frying kind of person. Sid glanced between Cole and the little python in his arms before letting out a sigh. Okay, I think I get the gist of what's happening. The rubies are actually demons and Noodle's one of them. So what's your plan now? Cole let out a frustrated growl. I was kind of hoping to just discreetly help her solve this case and fix all the trouble I caused her. The day after the fighting ring fiasco, Artie's mom, the biscuit lady, went off on a big rant about her in public. She was screaming about how she'll revoke Artemis' title as the creator's chosen and whatnot if she doesn't recover all the rubies. A bit of an overaction for a bunch of jewelry. Granted, they all turned out to be tiny portable demons, but still, Sid blamed the confusion. Revoke her title? A deep, unsettling frown washed over his face. Cole, Artemis told me that the creator's chosen is a power that passes on to another person after the current chosen dies. How is the bishop supposed to revoke it? Cole froze. Dread silence suddenly hung over the two of them as the realization slowly hits. No, you don't think she'd actually... Artemis' metal boots clanked against the cold marble floor of the grand cathedral as he stepped through the main hall. The building always felt ominously empty and cold at this time of night. Artemis stiffened and quickly made her way towards her mother's office. Her Excellency had requested a report of the day's events, and it would be unwise to make her wait. Your Excellency, Artemis pulled her head into the Grand Bishop's office and found the room dark and vacant. It was rather late. Perhaps he had retreated to her chambers. Artemis shuffled quickly through the cathedral's living quarters and breathed a sigh of relief as she caught the sight of a slither of light at her mother's door. This dark area of the cathedral was rather unfamiliar to her. Artemis' own room was situated in an isolated corner of the building, and she rarely had reason to visit her mother's chambers. She gulped and raised her nervous hand to knock, but as she did, a passing draft pushed open the door a tiny smidge. Without thinking, Artemis peered through the small crack. Her body immediately seized up with a jolt. Her chest lurched painfully at the sight. The Grand Bishop was in a state of undress with her back turned towards the door. Where her billowing robes once concealed, angry scars danced across her exposed skin like spirals of lightning. Despite the almost decade that had passed, Mother's scars were still as red as the day she was wounded. Unaware of Artemis' presence, the bishop gingerly spread a medicinal salve across her abdomen, wincing at the slightest touch. Guilt stabbed through Artemis' chest like a knife. It had been years. Why haven't her wounds healed yet? And why didn't she tell her? Surely Artemis' potent healing magic could help ease her pain. Artemis froze and looked down. Small sparks of celestial magic had escaped and danced across her palms through her distress. Artemis clenched her fists and suddenly felt extremely stupid. Of course, Mother wouldn't want anything to do with her. All her magic was expected with lightning, after all. The process of healing her with such magic would probably be distressing, to say the least. Artemis shook her head furiously. Clearing her throat, she gave the door a solid knock. Your Excellency, I have come to give my report on the day's events. There was a pause. After a beat, her mother's bitter voice hissed through the door. I'm busy. You will wait for me in the main hall. As you wish, Your Excellency. Artemis gave a brief salute before quickly dismissing herself. My, Artemis, what a long face. I was hoping you'd be less violently grim now that you've escaped your mother's grasp. Huh? Artemis yelled as Grank ruffled her hair with a grin. Night Commander, what are you doing here? Well, it appears that the festival exploded this afternoon, and I was charged with cleaning up the mess. Speaking of which, here, I grabbed you some snacks from the food stalls. Oh, Commander, you shouldn't have. Think never of it. They were all on discount. Careful while you're chewing, though. There might be some blast debris in the cookies. Artemis brushed the stray flecks of gravel out of the box of snacks, her heart sinking. I don't suppose things are faring well after the attack. So now I am. It's my duty to protect the people. I did not realize you were personally responsible for every disaster in the city. Artemis yelped as the commander's enormous hand clapped her on the back. You've only been out in the world for a few days. Be kinder to yourself. In this festival season, you should be celebrating. Go have a few drinks with your mates and publicly humiliate some floppy nobles at the jousting tournament while you're at it. Oh, Commander, don't even speak of that. I ruined the whole event. Oh, please, the joust was always the most boring part of the festival. I tell Watson freely, noble children knock each other off their horses with glorified sticks. You should be proud of spoiling them the humiliation. If you say so, why study her still anxious face and let out an exasperated sigh. Dear girl, you need to learn to relax for once. Remind me after this mess is over to take you to the bar or something. That'll be quite an experience, eh? Sir, we're paladins. We're immune to organic poisons. That includes alcohol. The commander's face wrinkled with disgust. I know, it's awful. It's been years since I managed to get absolutely shit-faced. At least the taverns still have a decent atmosphere, but it's not the same. Language, sir. Your mother's not here. I can say what I want. I suppose it would be out of line to argue with you. Finally, perhaps you really are learning to have fun. Let me know when you're planning to hit your rebellious phase. We'll have to celebrate with a few drinks. Ormby huffed indignantly, though her face betrayed a smile. My friend called missing frequently since bars once. Perhaps I should join him sometime, as a chaperone at least. Great grimace, the cute little hyena fella. I think his choice in bars may be too hardcore for you, dear girl. Ormby grumbled and crossed her arms indignantly. That's what they said about the books, too. Out of curiosity, which bar does this cold fella frequent? Just curious, that's so. I believe he mentioned it was located at Watten's Red's Alley. It was a particularly happy one. The knight commander broke into a jovial laugh and was about to say something of great importance, but his expression suddenly fell. Ormby followed his gaze and stifled. The brief air of levity between them instantly deflated. The Grand Bishop quietly entered the main hall, her face narrowed with her usual stern glare. Ormby couldn't help but notice the slight limp in her step as he clutched her side. Another stab of guilt shot through her chest. She gulped the resisted urge to gnaw on her thumb again. Your Excellency, daughter. Grant muttered something rude under his breath, which Katrina promptly ignored. You report on the day's events. I'll still hear it. Of course. She saluted and nervously began her report. A low pause weighed over the main hall as Ormby finished recounting the day's events. The bishop's expression was cold and unreadable, making the experience utterly nerve-wracking. Finally, Katrina broke the tension with a sigh. After your insistence on striking out on your own, I had hoped to see the barest modicum of results at the very least. Pity you failed even the lowest of my expectations. Ormby felt the pit in her stomach drop as he avoided her mother's gaze. A shadow suddenly loomed overhead. Grant had taken a step forward and stood stubbornly between her and the bishop. Ah yes, your Excellency's expectations have always been famously reasonable. Knight Commander, please don't start. I, for one, have heard nothing but gratitude from the people who she had aided during the afternoon's recovery efforts. Ormby may not have met your excellent standards, but she has done nothing to deserve your ire. Katrina saw him a cold glare. Can you deny her failures? She turned towards Ormby with a piercing look. Instead of focusing on your mission, you wasted your time with frivolous nonsense. Festival games and food, consorting with those barbarian mercenaries, attending the entire jousting tournament. But I can explain it. And how? Pray tell, did an actual demon manage to attack your companion for what under your nose? Ormby shrank back with each final word. Her heart was pounding viciously against her chest, and she struggled to think of something to say. Grank growled and waved his hand dismissively. Orderby scarcely has any experience with the outside world thanks to your wonderful meddling. Is there any one that seems a little distracted with spending time with friends? Is that truly your best excuse? You can't truly expect her to solve all the city's problems on her own. We should encourage her efforts to make trusted allies. Oh, please, those friends of hers are only taking advantage of her naivety and her strength as a creator's chosen. Why else would anyone want to keep her around? Katrina sneered. You may not like what you hear, daughter, but my words are always honest and true. Unlike those lowly peasant friends of yours, you will discover. Oh, that's quite enough out of you, woman. You dare speak to me in that tone. I am the Grand Bishop. Greg and the Bishop descended into a heated, spitting argument, their voices echoing harshly against the hall's empty walls. Orderby shrunk back, anxiously gnawing at her gloved thumb as she tried to calm her pounding heartbeat. Her head throbbed with dizzying pain against the shouting voices. She wanted to ask them to just stop fighting, but it was all she could do to keep her breath steady. Instead of throwing your authority around at every waking moment, you could try to do something useful for once. The church will have a competent chosen. If this child is unable to fulfill that role, we will find one more fitting. A deathly glare shrouded Grant's face as he took a step forward, his massive shadow looming over the bishop. No need to dance around with words, Your Excellency. You intend to kill her. How very motherly of you. The bishop glared right back, utterly unflinching. You of all people have no right to judge my methods, Grank Stoneborn. Everything I do is in the name of our Creator and the greater good. You, on the other hand, do not have that excuse. Have you forgotten your own misdeeds? Silence fell over the cathedral. Orderby looked up, confused and swimming through her throbbing headache. Your misdeeds? The Grand Bishop let out a cruel laugh that echoed through the empty hall. My dear daughter, do you mean to tell me that you don't know? Is it all but an open secret? It is all but an open secret within the church. I did promise you my honesty. Let me tell you of the filth that your dear knight commander has concealed from you. Grank's low growl shook low, reverberating through her chest as he glared at the bishop with an intensity Orderby had never seen. You will choose your next words very carefully, woman. Katrina's smile only widened as he sneered. See this, daughter? See how these lowlives try to withhold the truth from you? Even your knight commander, who you so dearly admire, refuses to be wholly honest. As I said before, you may not like my methods, but I will always be true to you. The knight commander, what is he talking about? Greg was silent. His steely glare faltered and for a moment he looked truly lost for words. You see, before his rise as an honored, blessed knight of the church, our good Grank Stoneborn was a criminal of the highest order. Burglary, smuggling, murders, and meant the organized crimes within the deepest bowels of Washington Ridge Alley. Our dear knight commander was indeed the worst of the worst. Both the church knights and the city watch sought his head, for he was worth more dead than alive. Orderby smiled. Orderby stilled, her mind racing. She stared up pleadingly at the knight commander, but the old bear refused to meet her gaze. Oh, and on the day the church knights finally managed to arrest this scum of a man, he managed to add child murderer as a final addition to his list of crimes. Truly the most honorable knight in our court. A heavy silence fell upon the grand hall. Orderby squeezed her eyes shut. Everything was moving too fast. He just wanted everything to stop. Frank took a step forward, towering over the bishop with boiling fury. Horrid witch. Will you not be satisfied until you've torn down everything you can reach with your grubby little claws? What's the matter, Commander? Has your sins finally caught up with you? But please stop. That's witch. I look forward to the day where you finally reap what you sow, Grand Bishop. I'm afraid you will be dead and buried far before that time comes, Stoneborn. You overstep your bounds. Watch yourself. You may be Roger's personal lapdog, but I hold the leash. Best watch your back. At least can be pulled from either end. Is that so? Please. Something snapped. Audibly clamped her eyes shut, and torrent of lightning swarming around her as he let out a ragged cry. Please, just stop fighting! Branches upon branches of lightning poured from her trembling figure like an isolated storm. The acrid smell of ozone filled the air, sparks of celestial magic cutting across the hall in blinding streaks. It was all Autumn could do to keep her breath steady as her mind spun in agonizing circles. The bishop's response was immediate. Her mother's hands shot up, and Autumn felt herself being violently thrown back by a blast of force. Her back crashed against the cathedral's walls with a deafening crack, the stone fracturing from the impact. Autumn clutched her head, the world spinning wildly around her. She was vaguely aware of the Knight Commander rushing to her side as if she was alright in a worried hush. But when she opened her eyes, all she could see was her mother's enraged face with her arms clutching her scarred abdomen. It was a face in a turmoil of disgust, hatred, and fear. Get out! Get out! Foul child! What must I do to be rid of you? But mother, out! Audibly's heart clenched. She staggered onto her feet and fled the church as fast as her legs could take her. The cold night air hit her lungs in a merciful embrace. Audrey fell to her knees as the grand cathedral's door slammed shut behind her, heart hammering against her chest as she struggled to see straight. Too much was happening all at once. She could barely make sense of anything. Audrey took a shaking, deep breath and tried to steady herself. Suddenly, the cathedral doors creaked open. She needn't turn to know who it was. Grant quietly shut the door behind him and sat down next to her on the steps. The two of them were silent for a breath. Audrey almost could feel his concerned gaze even as she hung her head low. After a moment, he finally spoke. Was what Mother spoke of true? Yes. As he said, it's a bit of an open secret within the church. Even the child murder, Grant was stone-faced in silence. On the day of my arrest, the church knights cornered me in an alleyway where street urchins frequented. There were casualties. Audrey paused, eyes trained on the marble steps at her feet. Why did you never tell me? Grant sighed. Throughout most of my life, I've done little work. Even after being elevated to the rank of Knight Commander, I've been little more than a puppet of strings. Everything I've done since was dictated by either the church or the royal family. Even my rank of Knight Commander was chosen for me. There was no choice for me to make. I walked every step as ordered with a little thought or feeling. The old bear's eyes softened. But you, my dear pupil, you are one of the few things I feel privileged to have in my life. The way you always looked up to me was such undeserved admiration. I suppose I wanted to avoid disappointing you for as long as I could. I see, Audrey. Rank took a deep breath, weighing his words with care. He reached down and gently grasped Audrey's hand in his own. Now that you have escaped your mother's reigns, you will discover things about yourself and those around you that will prove trying. But I want you to know, throughout all the secrets and deception, my love for you as your mentor was always true. I have always been proud of being part of your life. Always. Audrey stared at his hand for several moments before quietly shaking him off. Thank you. Your words mean a lot, truly. But I'm not sure what to really believe anymore. A low chuckle escaped the bear's throat. A reasonable sentiment. Perhaps it's best you spend the night away from the cathedral to clear out your head. I'm sure your new friends will be happy to have you. Yes, I think that would be for the best. I wish you well, Alderby. The Knight Commander gave her one last warm nod before returning inside the cathedral. The rumbling thud of the stone doors had never felt so heavy. Alderby found herself alone on the marble steps of the grand cathedral, staring out in the cold, dark night. The realization that she was utterly lost and alone felt like an abrupt knife wound to the chest. She slowly picked herself up with shaking legs and stumbled down the cobblestone path. Chosen one, just who I wanted to see. I'm glad I could catch you before the day's end. Huh? Alderby blinked as a familiar figure quietly swooped out of the night sky. Agatha's wings fluttered as she landed lightly on her feet. The old bat's grin fell into a look of concern as she caught sight of Alderby's face. Oh dear, what happened? You look awful. Enchanter, Agatha? What are you doing here at this time of night? Oh, well, the Enchanter cleared her throat awkwardly. I just wanted to come and apologize for dumping all that baggage on you earlier today. My feelings might have gotten the better of me. Very unprofessional. You have enough on your shoulders already, and it was rather unbecoming of me to add yet more out of the blue. I hope what I said did not bother you too much. The old bat paused and adjusted her glasses. Are you okay, Alderby? Because frankly, you look like shit. Alderby sniffed and tried to hide the ragged red circles around her eyes. I may have gotten into another argument with Her Excellency. Katrina, was it? We used to be colleagues while I worked under King Roderick. Did plenty of celestial research together for the church. She was always that guy in our group projects. Whatever she said to you, I advise you pay it no mind. Heavens knows I never did. Alderby shook her head firmly. No, I'm afraid the fault lies squarely on my shoulders. The conversation got a little heated, and in my agitation I lost control of my magic. Her Excellency was rightfully concerned and asked me to leave. Agatha's eyes narrowed. Lost control of your magic? That's usually a sign of some sort of internal imbalance. Wait, she makes her own kid call her Excellency? Greatest shagging tits. Katrina, get your head out of your ass. Oh, sorry, where was I? Has this happened before? This is the sort of thing you want to talk to your healer about. I'm afraid my medical instructor, Sir Theomore, is away on the mission at the moment. Theomore, that wolf medic who never sets up. Well, that's a bit harsh, though Sir Theomore is subtly talkative. My dear, that's just a polite way of saying he never sets up. The old bat scratched her chin thoughtfully as she looked Alderby up and down. If you would like, I can give you a small arcane checkup and see where these bursts of magic are originating from. Oh, truly? Are you certain? I wouldn't want to impose. I thought it would be rather worrisome if I lost control of myself again at an inopportune moment. Oh, it's no trouble at all. As an arcane researcher studying life magic, I'm certain it is within my ability to help you, and I've always wanted to see how the greatest chosen magic works. I assure you, this is a mutually beneficial arrangement. Agatha smiled and gently grasped Alderby's hand. The bat's usually cheeky tone shifted to a more professional affection. Now, I want you to understand that this procedure involves probing rather deeply into your magical core. This process includes scanning the subconscious of your mind to pinpoint the origin of these outbursts. I will only do so if I have your consent. And if you feel uncomfortable at any point, I can stop at a moment's notice. Do I have your permission? Autumn stared down at her hands. The thumbs of her gloves frayed then from her anxious gnawing. The sight of her mother's raw jacket scars flashed through her mind. If she could prevent further outbursts in the future, perhaps she could make things less tense at home. At the very least, Her Excellency could finally speak to her without that mixture of fear and distance in her eyes. Autumn sucked in a deep breath and nodded. You have my permission. Do whatever it is you need to do. The enchanter peered at her with a flash of concern before nodding. Very well, let us begin. Into the walls of lavender light poured from Agatha's arms to her own. It felt like submerging her hands in a warm bath. A comforting fragrant scent filled her nose, like that of a freshly brewed pot tea. Now, I want you to close your eyes. Recall the moments where you lost control of your magic. What were you feeling in those moments? What emotions clouded your mind? Autumn's brow furrowed. These were rather unpleasant memories to dwell upon. Her mother's furious face, the shouting, the sheer anxiety of her heart pounding against her chest, and the frigid cold threatening to take her as she desperately clutched a tiny flickering candle to her chest. The world suddenly went white. The pit of her stomach lurched as though she was falling a great height. Autumn squeezed her eyes shut and buried her head in her hands. The world was spinning around her in a kaleidoscope of colors. What was happening? A pair of hands seized her, and everything suddenly steadied. Autumn felt her feet in the ground. In a stumble to steady herself, her eyes flickered open. The first thing that hit her was just how bright and cold everything was. Autumn shielded her face from the buffeting snow, buffeting snow and wind. The harsh light reflecting off every pale surface made the world almost blinding. What is this place? Agatha stood beside her, taking in the sight with awe. This is your mindscape, a mental construction of your subconsciousness. To the surprise of no one, magic is greatly affected by the emotional state of its user. My plan was to search for any anomalous signs. The bat shivered and pressed her wings again close. The bat shivered and pressed her wings close for warmth. Most mindscapes I've seen were abstract reconstructions of hometowns or sentimental locations. Suffice to say, I've never seen one in the middle of a blasted snowstorm before. Autumn felt a lump form in her throat as she scanned her surroundings. This forest was uncomfortably familiar, right down to the snow whirling across the land. Small frozen candles littered the riverbank as far as the eye could see. Is there anything you want to talk about, chosen one? Got some sort of deep-seated love for snowstorms or something? Autumn shook her head quietly. I never liked the cold. Agatha snorted. That all you got for me? It's fine. No need to share more than you're comfortable with. For now, let us focus on that. The enchanter jabbed a finger towards a blindingly white steamer beside them. Flecks of celestial light flickered across its surface like frozen fireflies. Liquid gold crawled across the snowfield with a delicate flow. I believe that is the flow of your celestial strength. If my hunch is right, we will find an answer to our concerns if we follow upstream. This is the source of my strength? Yes, a mental representation of it, at least. Things look rather normal, though. There's nothing here that explains why your magic would go out of control in a moment of tension. It is strange though. Perhaps it is because I've never studied a creator's chosen before, but this whole situation feels very... Agatha paused and scratched her chin. No, let's avoid jumping to conclusions. Come along onto me. Let us see where this leads. The two made their way upstream, struggling to trek through the frozen riverside and biting wind. Ornaby did her best to ignore the many candles that littered the land and the small trail of child-sized footsteps trailing into the woods. As they walked, her curiosity slowly got the better of her. Miss Agatha, what caught your attention earlier? Did you notice something strange? The enchanter's brow furrowed. As a professional, I shouldn't make any early assumptions. Please, I insist. This is my mind and body. After all, I would like to know what bothers you so. I'm not sure how to put it, but there are aspects of your magical foundation that feels artificial. Artificial. There are traces of external meddling with your landscape, as though its current form has been influenced in some way. If my hunch is correct, there should be more visible signs. The enchantress scratched her chin and slowly drifted off in her own thoughts. I suspect that somewhere along this little river we will find the source of your woes. Miss Agatha? Sure, I might just be misreading things. You are the first creators chosen I've studied, but something here just feels off. Miss Agatha? I'm kind of surprised by the lack of lightning, too. That's sort of your thing, isn't it? Miss Agatha? Wannabe nuts is distracted researcher, her eyes trained skyward in awe. What is it? Have you found something? Agatha followed her gaze and froze. Squinting through what she thought were the blinding rays of the sun, through a thick cloak of snow, the sight before her took her breath away. Ornaby, what is that? The massive shadow of a massive stone dam loomed above as far as the eye could see. Near the base, a torrent of water spilled from a crack in the wall, forming into the small golden stream that flowed across the snowy forest. And as they strained their gaze above the stone visage, the sky split open, unleashing a cascade of celestial light upon the land that poured into a brilliant golden sea that spanned the horizon. The sheer brilliance of the sight almost hurt to look upon, and holding back this rampant flood of celestial magic was the single ragged stone dam. This dam, which at first sight felt immense in its own right, was utterly dwarfed by its colossal task. Ornaby let out a breath she did not realize she was holding. What is this? The enchanter looked as stunned as she was. Agatha took a few trembling steps forward and pressed her palm against the cold stone structure. Is this the true capacity of the creators chosen? No, impossible. It feels too artificial, too vast. Someone has been pulling strings to create this situation within you. This massive pool of celestial magic is in no way natural. A flash of lavender light enveloped Agatha's palm as she scanned the magic around her. The researcher's brow furrowed. And not just someone either. Several separate parties have been sticking their hands where they don't belong. A slow creeping dread shivered down Ornaby's spine. What are you saying? The old bat fell silent as she continued studying her surroundings. She turned towards Artemis, carefully weighing her words. According to my observations of lingering arcane magic here, it appears that two opposing parties have been manipulating you. For what purpose, I can't say. The first party seemed to have gotten their claws on you very early on. I dare say they have been pulling strings since your birth. Agatha jabbed a finger towards a cascading waterfall of celestial magic pouring from the sky. This is just conjecture, but I believe this group endeavored to turn you into the largest reservoir of celestial energy the world has ever seen. The sheer amount of wild power here is ridiculous. No mere mortal should be able to contain this. Agatha turned and tapped her knuckles against the stone dam. Then, at some point, a second party got involved and created this. They somehow placed an arcane inhibitor within you, thus preventing any of this excess magic from escaping. And this inhibitor seems deeply tied with your emotional state. The researcher's gaze narrowed. If I were to hazard a guess, tell me, Artemis, in your youth, did you perhaps have a lot of trouble drawing on your power as the Creator's chosen? Were you unable to cast even the most basic spells, no matter how hard you tried? Artemis bit back a wave of nausea swelling up her throat. That's correct. Yes, that would be due to this arcane inhibitor preventing any magic from escaping you. And it held fast throughout your youth, despite this absolutely massive sea of celestial energy. Then, and let me guess, a few years down the line, you experienced something rather upsetting. More upsetting and overwhelming than you could bear. The researcher's voice dipped as she traced her hand across the jagged crack in the dam's wall. And during this incident, your magic without control for the first time. I'd imagine it was rather explosive in nature after being repressed for so long. After this incident, this crack formed a this inhibitor, allowing you to finally harness a fraction of your power as the Creator's chosen. Artemis squeezed her eyes shut and quietly nodded. The blizzard chill was slowly seeping through her armor, a bit through her flesh like knives. You have the right of it. She lifted her head. Tell me frankly, Miss Agatha. Since I was born, I was told that I was chosen by the Creator, and it was my duty to create. It was my duty to serve the church and the city's people from the disaster unseen. And thus did I dedicate every one of my life's training and prepare myself for this duty. It was all I knew. She turned towards the blinding cascade in the sky, a sickening feeling filling her chest. Are you saying that, after all this time, I was simply a pawn in some unknown party's game? Was my duty in life up to this point was a cruel lie? Was it all just to create this thing inside me? Agatha fell silent. She reached up to grasp Artemis' trembling hand with a sympathetic smile. Well, I don't know about this whole destined chosen one business. We researchers tend to be secular bunts. But I can definitely say that despite this whole mess, you've grown into a fine knight and a kind young woman. The researcher smiled gently. Regardless of your origins, anyone would be proud to have you by their side. I think your little adventurer friends were eagerly to attest to that. Artemis didn't look up, but she tried to force a small smile. The old bat sighed and tightened her grip around Artemis' hands. That being said, as a professional, I will have to ask you to be cautious in the future. This inhibitor, this dam, its resilience is directly tied to your emotional state. If you were to experience something traumatic or emotionally distressing in the future, there's a high chance that this dam will break in its entirety. What would happen to me if this dam breaks? Oh, how do I even describe this? Frankly, with all this celestial magic erupting all at once, it would be a bomb going off. Agatha adjusted her glasses and grumbled. As much as I hate to admit it, perhaps Katrina's decision to shelter you was wise, in a way. Should I return to the cathedral? Oh, hells no. Right after an argument like that? Get out of there and stay with some friends who actually care about you. And maybe reevaluate the people in your life and decide who you really ought to trust. The old bat sighed. That's probably a decision best made another time when you have a clear head. Let's get out of here, shall we? I think we both spent a bit too much time stuck in your head. Barnaby was grateful to feel the rush of light and snow disappear from her senses, and she was drawn back into the waking world like surfacing from deep water. She blinked the exhaustion from her eyes and looked up. Agatha's kind, speckled eyes stared back, still gripping her hands with a gentle squeeze. Are you alright? No, to be perfectly frank, what do I do now? Nothing makes sense anymore. She felt the researcher sigh and pull her into a firm, comforting hug. Oh, my dear girl, that's probably a question best left for another day. Go to some trustworthy friends and rest up. Face a new day with fresh eyes. Nothing will get done when you're so disheveled and shaken. Barnaby rested her head against the old bat's shoulders. Her head hurt. A storm of thoughts and worries swam through her mind. Where would I even begin to solve this? Hush, rest for the night. Agatha paused as he gently patted her back. Although, she let out a conflicted sigh. There's much I want to tell you, but like I mentioned earlier today, my hands are tied. If you are ever in need of answers, however, I recommend you look into the abandoned 14th laboratory in the Magistrate District. It was there that I and the royal family conducted much of their private research. There's some valuable information there that you may find useful. Of course, you have the trespass and break into royal family property, but I'm sure your friends can figure it out. The old bat cleared her throat loudly. Oh, I think I've kept you long enough, dear girl. Go and get some rest. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'll be happy to lend my ear. Audrey nodded numbly. The researcher wasn't sure if the night had even heard her. Concern gripped her chest as she watched Audrey pull herself out of her hug and stumble onto her feet. I will be off then. Thank you for your time, Miss Agatha. Agatha watched quietly as the knight staggered down the street, her small slouched figure disappearing into the dim night. A gentle smile across the researcher's face fell as Autumn ambled out of earshot. She slowly adjusted her glasses and stared off into the darkness. Show yourself. I know you're watching. Out of the corner of her eyes, the shadows across the cobblestone street shifted and wreathed like a mass of cloth in the wind. Oh, my dear host, you certainly caught my curiosity. I dare say your concern for the girl almost sounded genuine. The hair on the back of Agatha's neck prickled with a biting chill. She glared, her voice low and cold. That's none of your business. More importantly, what on earth have you gotten yourself into this afternoon? I thought I told you to keep out of trouble. Well, I tried, but that's so boring. I didn't travel all the way to the material plane to just sit at the sidelines during a festival. And I was even thoughtful enough to track down my little brother and his host for you. The demon chuckled. It seems my idiot brother has gotten quite attached to this little mortal. We won't be convincing him to part with that hyena anytime soon. Agatha glared. Fool, I told you not to hurt him. Nay, you specifically said, don't kill him. There's quite a difference. The empty hood of Zealous' form tilted its head curiously. Why do you even care about that little twerp anyhow? Have you gone attached to your strange experiment? Why do you care about any of these kids? Agatha growled and cut her off. I will not be heckled by a reckless, dismembered head. If you had sown a modicum of restraint, perhaps you wouldn't have been reduced to your current pathetic form. You delayed the plan significantly. Agatha adjusted her glasses. How long until you recover to your full power, demon? From injuries like this, probably a day or so. Very well. We strike the day after tomorrow. Market District, Spall's Roost Inn. Ormby had to stop herself from knocking on the front door of the inn with a nervous stumble. It was an inn after all, so she probably didn't need to knock. After a moment of deliberation, she awkwardly poked her head through the door. Miss Swicewood, I'm sorry to pose at this hour, but is it alright if I stay tonight? I'm afraid I lack the funds to pay for a room, but I'll be happy to perform any chores or... She paused and blinked. Cole and Sid stood in the dining room, staring back at her with equal surprise. Oh, good. Ormby, we were just about to go look for you. You were? What they were for? The hyena and Badger exchanged glances as he noticed Sid nudged Cole gently from under the table. Cole awkwardly cleared his throat. It's been a busy day and we were worried that your ass of a bishop was going to give you a hard time. Just wanted to check in and see if you were doing alright. Sid chuckled. We were talking about launching a full rescue operation if things got ugly. A rescue operation? Cole nodded sagely. Honestly, we were gonna kidnap the chosen one. You're part of my adventuring party. Bone breakers don't leave anyone behind. Ormby smiled despite the heavy haze of exhaustion weighing over her shoulders. The thought of her friends worrying for her, ready to come to her aid. It felt nice. Cole let out a yelp as she yanked him and said into a sudden tight hug. What's this about? I'm just happy to be around you two again, that's all. It's not every day that people would wish the ire of the church for me. The hyena smoked. Hey, I'm always happy to publicly humiliate her highness again. And I'm sure your hot bear commander would be happy to cover our asses while we escape. Ormby bit her lip. Cole must have noticed and dropped his usual snarky grin, his voice low and gentle. Did something happen? Is that why you're staying here for the night? She resisted the urge to gnaw her thumb again. Well, yes, there was a bit of an argument. I might have had an outburst across a few lines. Cole saw her sympathetic smile and clapped her on the back. Hey, join the club. You too? Yeah, might have lost my temper around hammers and ruined a few things. He shrugged awkwardly. Ormby couldn't help but chuckle. What's so funny? If you told me a few days ago that we had this much in common, I would have clobbered you. I was under the impression that you would have clobbered me anyway. Beside them, Sid was beaming with relief, happy to see them getting along. Ormby's chest fluttered. It was just one night. After this hectic day, everything felt like it was going to be okay. The kitchen doors abruptly flew open and Ilya and Renee rushed in with pure glee. Oh, Ormby, my dear, are you staying the night as well? This is wonderful, wonderful. My little boy finally has enough non-frog friends for his first sleepover. Sid let out a groan and shrank behind Cole and Ormby. Come on, Mom, not in front of everyone. Ilya laughed and pinched his cheeks with delight. Sid has grown so much since you two came into his life. We can't thank you dearly enough. Come, Renette has some stew cooking in the kitchen. Make yourself at home. Oh, are you certain? I'm afraid I do not have the money to pay for a room. Think enough of it. You are amongst friends here. It will just send the bill to the Bonebreaker Guild. Cole is your adventuring party leader, after all. He should be taking good care of you. Right? At that point, Ilya shot the hyena a knowing look that went straight through his soul. Cole gulped. God, alright, that's fair. Excellent. Now come settle down. We got a new cheesy bread recipe for you to try. The bell suddenly chimed as the inn door swung open. A familiar successful figure stumbled inside while doing his best to look dignified. This was made rather difficult considering he was covered from head to toe in dirt. Is there not a single distinguished inn within this blasted district? I suppose I will have to make do. Innkeeper, ready for me your finest room. Know that you are in the presence of Count O'Shaughnessy, heir to the great House O'Shaughnessy. So you provide adequate service, my grandfather will be sure to reward you handsomely. You came to the wrong house, fucko. Mom, we can't cast cloth daggers in the dining room. Of course I can. Where else will I cast it? Put the knives down, Mom. Unhand me, son. I have a lesson to teach. Leave me alone, you mad woman. Alderman Cohen exchanged nonchalant glances before settling down at the dining table. They chattered and ignored the chaos as Renette fluttered by with a pot full of delicious steaming stew. After a long and trying day, Audrey found herself in the welcoming arms of her friends. After all the people she could have run into on her first mission, she was glad it was these two. The night ended with the warmth of gratitude kindled within her heart, punctuated by the blood-curdling screams of Count O'Shaughnessy. Count Glossary as of Chapter 3. Got Maeve Osmia. Maeve Osmia. Species cat, age 20, professor, head of House Osmia. Diplomat. Class Druid, Circle of the Swarm. Wizard, School of Divination. Strength 10, Dexterity 15, Constitution 12, Intelligence 11, Wisdom 16, Charisma 17. So, she's average in strength. But the dexterity, constitution, and intelligence, she's over average. She excels in wisdom and charisma. I hope to one day return the favor. A survivor of the Druid Lucas famine, Maeve Osmia made it her missions. Maeve Osmia made it her life's mission to lead her fellow Druids on the path to recovery and prosperity. After the great disaster, a singular memory was burned inside her mind. That her countrymen, famished and gaunt, clawing at Axia's closed gates, while cursed luggage descended upon their flesh. She held no love for the Axian nobility, for their apathy. Open disdain bled through like an open wound when her patience ran dry. However, Maeve eventually deemed the nobility a necessary evil during her efforts to grow House Osmia, and she soon developed into a formidable diplomat. Her honeyed words twisted countless haughty nobles to her advantage despite her young age. With her rise to power came the bitter promise, never again. Items. Those who first met Maeve Osmia assumed her vase veil was a cultural accessory of the exterior Druids. They would be woefully incorrect. Maeve's advisors insisted that she wear it to cover her face at the beginning of her career as the head of House Osmia. It was rather difficult to make noble allies when she was constantly visibly annoyed in their presence. Maeve eventually got better at the whole being nice to nobles business, but decided to continue wearing her veil since it gave her an air of mystery and advantage she valued during negotiations. As the head of the house that controls around 80% of Axia's food production, Maeve was no stranger to assassination attempts. She never went anywhere without her trusty sickle blade strapped to her thigh. Though fearsome, her assailants were often more worried about the swarms of angry bees that she summoned to her defense. The Exeter nobility's assassination attempts decreased dramatically as the men began dropping off their hired blades on their doorsteps along with a complimentary beehive. The portable hive she carried contained the same enchantments as a bag of holding and housed an entire network of bee swarms at her disposal. Druidcraft was looked down in Accent society as a lesser form of magic reserved for farmers and their uncivilized ilk. In the effort to be taken more seriously, May began studying wizardry shortly after becoming a figurehead of the Druid community. It was then that she discovered that wizardry was atrociously boring. She chose to focus on the school of divination on a whim because predicting the future sounded mildly interesting. Instead, she found that divination was absolutely bullshit and consisted of a bunch of people throwing out wild predictions and hoping one of them would stick. The tarot cards, tea leaves, and dramatic prophecies were just there for flavor. May passed her classes with flying colors via the power of stating the office and use of druid crafts of forecasting weather. She made divination history with a record-breaking prophecy accuracy of 64%, an achievement that May loathed with her entire being. Okay, so here's a picture here. This is Calder and this is the grandfather here. This might have been one of the sons that was lost, who died, and as soon as this person died, Calder became the heir. I wonder who this person is. It's been ripped off, but I just have to wonder who this person might be. I can't help but think maybe it could possibly be Moral Bonebreaker. Could actually be O'Shaughnessy himself. Let's see. Again, it might be somebody else, but hey, we gotta see. But again, it could be somebody, it could be Moral Bonebreaker. I mean, if it's whipped out like that, then I think it could be Marvel. I mean, I don't think it will really have been like that if it's somebody we haven't seen already. Cattle Fantasy Species Stripes Hyena, age 25, professing, heir of House of Fantasy, Arcane Scholar, Class Wizard, Order of Squad, Strength 8, Dexterity 11, Constitution 8, Intelligence 18, Wisdom 16, Charisma 12. So, he's kind of low in Strength and Constitution, but he's good in Dexterity and he's pretty good in Charisma. He has a lot of wisdom. He's very intelligent. The person I want to be irrelevant. My favorite name comes from my favorite name comes before all else. And unlike my forebears, I will not forsake my duty. House of Fantasy was an old and respected family in Axiom's magical community, boasted generations of gifted scholars and mages. The house also had a long-standing history with both the church and royal family in assisting their magical endeavors. Alas, their reputation has fallen over the years, and its future now lay on the shoulders of its last heir, Count O'Shaughnessy. His mother, the late Harriet O'Shaughnessy, was a genius behind the proliferation of arcane crystal technology among the common people. She unfortunately died during childbirth, leaving Calder to be raised alone by his grandfather, Gaius O'Shaughnessy. Filled with tales of his family's great deeds, Calder toiled tireless in his studies to one day become worthy of his name. He spent most of his life studying within the cold walls of Old Sandacy Manor, leaving him with few friends or time for anything else. He has yet to achieve anything of note. Items. As a wizard, order of scribes, Calder wielded an arcane tome as a spell casting focus alongside a quill that never ran out of ink. His magical prowess was painfully average to the great disappointment of his grandfather. Calder has always struggled with spell casting on the fly and preferred ritual casting, the art of etching spell glyphs on ink and paper and storing them for later use. Unfortunately, people usually didn't wait for him to finish spending 10 minutes scribbling spells in his book in the middle of a wizard duel. Calder has loudly proclaimed that combat was barbaric and beneath him, often to turn his focus on more scholarly pursuits. An old keepsake from Calder's late mother. He never truly met her, but grew up hearing tales of her elegance and grace. Harriet O'Shaughnessy was a champion of the common folk and easily the most well-loved O'Shaughnessy sibling of the previous generation. She challenged the old-fashioned view that magic was for those of noble blood. Harriet insisted that a shared prosperity would benefit all of Axia and pushed for arcane crystals to be accessible to all. The late King Roderick approved of her and business visit, and together they ushered Axia into the magical powerhouse it was today. Gaius O'Shaughnessy often lamented the passing of his daughter and wondered out loud if her death was truly worth such a mediocre grandson. I can't read. Okay, but apparently his grandfather doesn't think highly of him. Agatha Stoker, species bat. Can't read. Species bat, age 56, professing, former arcane researcher, public safety enchanter, class wizard, score necromancy. Strength 10, dexterity 12, constitution 12. Intelligence 19, wisdom 17, charisma 11. And she's above average in all of them. She's especially high in intelligence and wisdom. Back then I would imagine the child I bring into the world. A little one that I could raise into a beautiful grown person, someone to pass my love to. I would name her Rosie. There were many whispers within the scholarly circles about precisely why a talented enchanter like Agatha Stoker was removed from the royal family's service. The public story was that King Roderick grew furious because Agatha was unable to save her dying wife from her chronic sickness. But why? It was rather unwise to fire the enchanter years before Queen Tabitha inevitably succumbed to disease. Agatha Stoker and King Roderick were also close friends who worked together for years. Wouldn't the king prefer to have such a trusted associate to tend to his wife? Rumors spread from ear to ear in hushed whispers. They say that several years ago, Agatha Stoker was seen storming into the 14th laboratory where King Roderick worked on his closely guarded projects. Screams and shouts echoed through the halls, and soon anger turned to blind rage. And the crowded explosion tore a large crater into the basement of the laboratory. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt, but the lab was shut down soon after. No plant life grew within the blasted heath to this day. Afterward, the enchanter was quietly let go. She had not spoken to the king since. Items. Agatha used a Caduceus style wizard staff as a spell-casting focus, a trademark of doctors, medics, and less commonly necromancers. While necromancy was often looked down upon by the general public, as a definitely dark art. Agatha insisted the opposite. It was the study of life, how energy flourished, and eventually withered away. The multiple miscarriages she suffered throughout her youth had left behind painful scars and a stubborn determination. Agatha dedicated herself to the school of magic for one singular purpose: to discover a way to create true life, to finally fulfill her dream of becoming a mother. After her fallout with the royal family, she had since given up on this dream. A small curse would be containing the envy demon, Zelos. When Agatha first coaxed the infernal creature from its crystal, Zelos promptly copied her fate, stole her coin purse, and stormed through the market district, buying every snack in sight. Apparently, tasty food was in short supply in the infernal plane. She managed to lure the demon back to her home with the promise of more snacks, preferably cheesy bread and entertainment. She followed along with her schemes. Keeping this demon in check was like wrangling a small, restless child, Agatha noted bitterly. She sometimes wondered how much smoother her plans would be if she had stolen one of the other rubies instead. As a public safety enchanter, Agatha had installed a countless number of arcane crystals throughout the city, and some of them were rather dubious. With her scrying orb, she could access these crystals and use them as her eyes and ears. She seemed to have a particular interest in the royal family's palace and the remains of the 14th laboratory. Agatha also used her orb to avoid the city watch staff whenever she had the urge to complain about her workmanship. Minimal waste begets minimum effort, after all. Okay, so we're done with chapter 3. And next time we're going to start chapter 4. Alright, so quite a bit to say about this part here. So apparently, we know who the person who teamed up with this demon is. It's Agatha. Why? I don't know. I'll have to figure out. But he did tell the demon that they strike the day after tomorrow, so we won't see it happen in the next video, but I think maybe a couple videos or later we'll see what Agatha and this demon decide to do, whatever it is. But apparently she does care about Artemis. He does care about her friends. Well, she does care about Artemis and Cole, and she probably doesn't care about Sid, but she probably cares about Sid because she cares about Artemis. Yeah, she cares about, she kind of looks down on Sid, but anyway, she cares about Artemis. Keep calling her a short name. She cares about Artemis. She cares about Cole, and because both of them care for Sid, she doesn't want anything to happen to him also. So I don't think there's anything evil that she's trying to do here. Maybe, but I don't think so. And maybe this is kind of like a necessary evil to deal with a demon. Well, again, maybe she is bad, but we'll have to see what happens. And apparently, some forces. Apparently, it's my TV. So apparently there's some forces that influence Ormond, a force that tried to, put a lot of magic in her, and then another force that built a dam to contain the excess magic. So I guess whoever put so much magic in there did it for, I don't know, it's evil purposes or maybe for their own selfish interests. And then the other party that came later to build a dam did it for the best interest of Ormond. At least that's what I think. But again, they could have done that for their own interest also. But anyway, I think if an overflow of magic happened, like especially if she gets very emotional, if she gets really emotional, then all that excess magic will be let out, and I think she'll be killed, I guess. So clearly her mother doesn't love her, and she might try to kill her even. But clearly her mother doesn't love her. She looks down on her. She only cares about her as a creator's chosen, not as her daughter. And Ormond always thought of Grank, of the Polar Bear commander, as this good, noble person. And while he is that now, he wasn't always that. He was a criminal who stole and committed crimes to survive. So apparently by some divine intervention, he was saved from execution and he became the Knight Commander. And Ormond couldn't believe it, that he was a criminal before. But I guess while she didn't take it well, she didn't take it that bad to the point that she got angry with him and didn't want to talk to him anymore. She was surprised, but she did get angry at him. Alright, so in that talk Sid and Cole had, I don't think he should be pretending to be Sid like that. I mean, if he does something on the street as Sid, he'll get Sid into trouble. I really think he should just be himself, his regular form, instead of uses magic to be Sid. Anyway, Sid took his mother's advice with how to approach Sid, and to be, as he told him, to be stern but kind. And that's what Sid did. I mean, he was kind, but he was also honest with Cole about the ways between him and Ormond and everybody. However, despite that, he told Cole that he did a lot of good for him. It's because of it was because of Cole that he learned how to write. Well, he may not have learned completely yet, but he learned how to read and write from Cole, and before he met Cole and Ormond, he was friends with a toad. So I believe the reason why Sid forgave Cole was because Cole was the first friend he ever had, and Cole was the first person that ever gave him a chance as far as employment. So I believe that's the reason why he forgave Cole, because despite the bad stuff he did a whole lot of good for him and Ormond. And at the end of this video, we got to see Autumn come to the end where Sid's parents won, and Cole was there too. They were happy to see her there, and both of them, both Sid and Autumn, had their disagreements with their respective parents, which landed them here at Sid's parents' inn, and his parents were happy to have them stay overnight. And when Calder came here to the inn to avoid his angry grandfather, Sid's mother was not happy about it. She basically attacked him again. It was funny. Alright, so that's all I have to say for now. In the next video we'll start chapter 4. A new update came out about a few weeks ago, so once we finish the next video, I'm going to download the newest update and we'll play that new update. So thank you all very much for watching. Bye.